Listen, we promised you that we'd have a conversation with one of the key members of government at the heart of decision making when it comes to the fight against Galamsey. We're joined this morning by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Mr. Samuel Abu Jinapor. Mr. Jinapor, it's a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Kojo, and a very good morning to your cherished listeners.
Now
Thank you for having me.
Indeed, we know you are sort of on your way somewhere, so we're going to try and get through things as quickly as possible.
I'm on house to house actually in Damango.
I can imagine. so let's get the very latest in first. We are made to understand that there was a meeting last night, sometime around 5, between yourself and some other ministers, national security and environment ministers, on this matter. Can you tell us about that?
All right, thank you very much, and very good morning to your listeners once again. So there were a series of meetings yesterday on various fronts, and indeed, I believe that there's commonality of minds on the way forward. But it's always important for me to point out that this struggle or fight has been ongoing for months and years. And since I've been minister, I can recall some of the most drastic measures which probably have ever been taken in our history to try to come to grips with this age-old issue of illegal small-scale mining. Notable amongst them being the decommissioning of excavators. We've gone through all those phases. And so it's an ongoing fight, and it's a process, and every now and again we're having to review the situation, amend our strategy, and plow forward. So first is the decision to intensify the ongoing Operation Halt. As you know, the major enforcement tool we have deployed over the period is Operation Halt, which is led by the Ghana Armed Forces. And so there was a comprehensive, detailed operational meeting yesterday, which came to some conclusions. And the major takeaway is that operation will be intensified. The details of it, I think I will leave it to the Ghana Armed Forces or law enforcement agencies to take it from there. Second is the decision to, not so much, I won't say decision, but really the smoothening of the rough edges, crossing our T's and dotting our I's, and getting river guards on the river bodies of our country. This is something that we have been working on for the past almost 8 months, where some 200 Ghanaians have been recruited by the Ghana Navy, and where also the Minerals Commission has facilitated the purchase of naval boats, about 5 of them, and these river guards have been trained. There had been some concerns or issues as to how to be deployed and the operational framework within which they will work, because we are always to take lessons from Galamsey. You recall that under the SWAL Interministerial Committee on Illegal Small-Scale Mining, there was what was described as Galamsey, which had its own excesses, and therefore we need to make sure that we draw the right lessons out of that. So river guards is one other decision we took. Thirdly, is also the revocation of LI 2462, which I can confirm that the Attorney General is taking steps as from today. As you know, Parliament is reconvening on Tuesday the 15th, and therefore the Attorney General is taking steps as of today to get LI 2462 revoked, amongst others. So if by way of update, this is what I can say to you.
Right. Now, recently, government has fallen short of actually declaring a state of emergency, as has been called for by over 50 of these groups, particularly organized labor. Why?
Well, first of all, I don't want to make any categorical statement on that call. I think a matter like that will be within the remit of the Attorney General and the President. because that has legal consequences. And so the Attorney General will have to examine that, and then the President will have to make a determination one way or the other. But I think it's important also that, because when we're speaking about these matters, let's be a little, not so much a little, let's be blunt, and let's just face the facts. What will be the implication of declaring a state of emergency in a particular part of our country? Essentially, what it means is that you are suspending the rights of citizens who live in that part of the country. In other words, you are suspending the human rights. People can be detained for more than 48 hours, for example. Curfews can be imposed capriciously or at the whims of the government. State of emergency simply means you are taking away the rights of people. The military people can arrest people and so on and so forth. Now, the question we then have to ask, though, is that those who are not involved in mining, who are not complicit in any form or shape, what does that mean for their rights? And the other question is also, are we able to continue with the measures, strengthen them, enhance them, to make progress, and ultimately be able to have a satisfactory situation without necessarily going through this route? So these are matters which are out there, and I think the jury is still out, and the discussion is ongoing, and the debate is ongoing, and therefore we will see where the chips will fall.
Right.
But that said, there are a lot of measures we have put in place to deal with this matter, and some of which we are, as I say, intensifying, which essentially should be able to help us to sanitize this situation. One of them is the river bodies of our country, which mining is already by law outlawed. This mining is not permitted 100 meters away from the banks of a river body, and we've even extended it to 200 meters from the banks of a river body. So whatever measures can be taken within the context of state of emergency on the river bodies, the law strengthens us, or the law mandates us to take those measures. And I think my focus, and I believe the focus of the ministry and government, is to get on with that or continue with that. Forest reserves, small-scale mining is not permitted in forest reserves by law, and therefore whatever small-scale mining takes place in a forest reserve is illegal. We went as far as in April 2017 to ban prospecting, reconnaissance, and exploration in forest reserves, because we found out that people came for prospecting license for large-scale concessions on the pretext of going to prospect, which is not supposed to be for mining, and ended up using such licenses for mining, and therefore we banned prospecting in forest reserves. The only form of mining which is permitted in forest reserve is large-scale mining, and I can count on my fingertips the number of large-scale mining operations which are permitted in forest reserves. Take, for example, Ghana Manganese Company Limited, which is the only manganese company in our country, which has been mining in the forest reserve since 1916, for almost 100 years, more than 100 years today. Or Ghana Bauxite Company Limited, which has been mining in the forest reserve since 1946, which is the only bauxite company of our country. Or Newmont, the world's leading producer of gold, and the leading producer of gold in Ghana, a reputable conglomerate which is mining in the forest reserve for many years. But even with those, we tend to get more benefit from this mining because of the environmental protocols or regime that they adhere to, and therefore they add on even to our forest cover. So whatever mining takes place, the land is restored, is revegetated, and they engage in afforestation and reforestation program, who tend to add on to our forest cover or forest resource. So what's the point I'm making? The point I'm making is that the focus or the issue has to do with how we get on with cordoning our forest reserves, and a lot of it is being done actually.
Mr. General, forgive the interruption, but to be fair, I think the conversation has never been about those who are mining conscientiously, legally, under supervision. I think the concern has always been about those who are doing it illegally. Companies like Akunta Mining, that your own ministry had reason to inform them that their presence in a forest reserve was illegal. In spite of that, nothing was done. I think these are the ones that are raising concern. These are the ones that people want to see stopped, is it not?
That is a legitimate question. And I've been working with the Forestry Commission for the past 4 years. And I want to see on authority, Kojo, and in all humility and modesty, that the forestry officials of the Forestry Commission have done such a wonderful, they've done some tremendous work. We are not out of the woods. We are not in a satisfactory situation. I don't suggest that every Forestry Commission officer is above reproach, but by and large, they put in their very best in cordoning off the forest reserves of our country. This particular incident you are talking about, it is the Ministry and the Forestry Commission that took action, that flashed out whatever activity was taking place in that particular forest reserve. And the point I'm making is I've had calls.
Well, you say you took action, but respectfully, nothing was ever done to Akunta mining.
Well, but the point I'm making is that the Forestry Commission took steps to rid that part of the forest reserve of whatever activity. Akunta mining had made a claim that they were just making preparations for a license and so on and so forth. But the Forestry Commission did not take care of that. They acted, they investigated, they prepared the report. The report was sent to the Interior Minister to be forwarded to the Inspector General of Police. That is the extent to which we can go as a ministry and as Forestry Commission. The rest of it will fall in the law enforcement and prosecutorial agencies of our country if they were to deem it legally fit to proceed in a particular manner. Okay. But what is the point I'm making? The point I'm making is that I've heard calls of all forms of mining in forest reserves. That is a very legitimate call, and it's a concern that I share in. But I'm saying that it is already banned. You are not permitted to engage in small-scale mining in forest reserves. What we have to continue to work on, and we will do so, is to continue to cordon off the forest reserves of our country. That's exactly what we're doing.
Right. Just one more thing on the state of emergency. You say that deliberations are going on because you are aware of the fact that it would end up affecting the rights of people in these communities who may not be involved in Galamsey. Is that the concern of government, that if the president or the attorney general were to declare a state of emergency, that they would then abuse that power?
No, that's not the point I'm making. I haven't taken a position on that. I said that's a matter that is put on the table. That's a matter that will have to be examined, interrogated, and a decision made accordingly. And I said the principal officer of state who will make that interrogation or examination will be the Attorney General, and that's exactly the point I'm making. But I said, well, in the course of the discussion, we should look at these various ramifications and these various contours of that particular action, and also, and even more importantly, whether or not we cannot achieve our objectives, our goals, with measures without necessarily declaring a state of emergency. So it's still a matter which is at large.
Okay.
I'm not making any definitive pronouncement on that.
Now, while you're not making any definitive pronouncement on that, Mr. Jinapo, you are aware that these illegal miners, some of them are well armed, right? Are you aware?
Go ahead, please.
No, I'm just asking whether you are aware.
Oh, but that is obvious.
Okay. You are also aware, for instance, that even the Water Resources Commission has said some of their members who are going to these water bodies are prevented from doing so by these illegal miners, and sometimes would have to plead to be given access to water bodies, right? Wouldn't you agree the Constitution is clear that the president, in declaring a state of emergency, would do so bearing in mind measures that can be taken to address the challenge? Under these circumstances, don't you think it is the way to go?
Well, Wilson, the premise of your question, the basis of your question are all correct. I don't quarrel with any of them that illegal miners are armed. That is correct. I know that, and I don't dispute that. As a matter of fact, even in a forest reserve, we have categorized the various forest reserves into green, amber, or yellow, and red. The green is the places where the Forestry Commission has full control. Yellow is where they have reasonable control and they're able to flash people out when they try to invade the various forest reserves of our country. And red are the places where the Forestry Commission itself acknowledges that they don't have the operational capacity to deal with those kinds of forest reserves because the persons who are trying to take over those parts of forest reserve are well armed. And therefore, in those circumstances, we involve the Ghana Armed Forces. We involve the Ghana Armed Forces. I almost gave you some details as to why the Forestry Commission is unable to deal with those kinds of areas. But you can imagine that their weaponry and the rest is not up to what the miners hold. And there, we bring in the Ghana Armed Forces, and the Ghana Armed Forces is able to overpower whatever force that is in that part of the forest reserve. So I agree, and I concede and acknowledge that there are miners on river bodies who are armed. Then the Water Resource Commission point you made, that also I agree with you. But the question, which is the question that we all have to continue to examine, is do you need a state of emergency to deal with that? Or if you intensify your enforcement regime, you'll be able to achieve the same goal. This is why I said mining on river bodies is banned. And mining and river bodies have been classified as red zones. They are national security assets as we speak today. I believe that if we intensify Operation Halt with the Ghana Armed Forces in the lead, I'm not too sure there's any force or any weaponry held by any miners which the Ghana Armed Forces will not be able to overpower on the river bodies of our country. So I think that's the examination that we have to make.
So can I reasonably infer then that you do not think we need a state of emergency?
Well, I haven't said that.
I'm saying,
that.
Can I infer?
I haven't said that. So I haven't said that, but I'm saying it has to be examined. It has to be examined. And yeah, go ahead, please.
No, I'm listening.
It has to be. I'm saying it has to be examined. What I can confirm and what I can put out is that we are going to intensify Operation Halt. Operation Halt has been ongoing over the period, and you know that a lot has been done with the Ghana Armed Forces in Operation Halt.
But if you say
excavators,
yes, but if you say
we've gotten to a point where we see so many excavators that we found it a problem keeping them. If you go to police stations across the country, they are littered with excavators. So we've gone through all those phases.
We'll come to that. But if you say you believe that the military, the armed forces, can deal and do not need a state of emergency to deal with this situation, isn't that in effect an admission that we don't need it? Because in the absence of that, we can still deal with the problem?
Well, let me try and get a little understanding from you. I mean, so for example, if you take, let's say, I don't know, a particular district, okay, a mining district, and there's a river body in that particular mining district. What is the suggestion? Declare a state of emergency in that whole district or declare a state of emergency on the river body?
Well, the Constitution is clear on what, so it says, for instance, that he shall, I mean, you determine the facts, circumstance, and the parts of the country. So that's for you to decide.
No, I don't. I'm just trying to. I mean, you're a senior journalist, broadcaster, and the point I've made is that we should examine it, and the Attorney General will make that examination. But I'm trying to. You and I, we should also try and have a little examination here. I'm saying you have a mining district. Your focus is on the river body, which is in the mining district. Is the suggestion you are making that we declare a state of emergency on the river body or a state of emergency in the whole mining district, 90 to 95% of parts of the mining district where mining may not be taking place or illegal mining may not be taking place whatsoever? which are citizens who are going about their lives according to law and order. So do we declare the state of emergency on the river body and its banks, or we declare it in the whole mining district? We need to examine all of that.
Mr. Jinapo, government has been engaging TUC. They made the main request. In fact, it's the reason why they are likely to go on strike tomorrow. What has government directly been telling TUC? Which questions and which answers have you been eliciting from TUC? The last time they gave you this instruction or demand was on September 11. It's been on almost a month. Are you still deliberating and contemplating what to do with this entire month?
No, we're not. We, as I've said, the effort to clamp illegal small-scale mining has been ongoing for years. In fact, in 2017, if you listen to President Akufo-Addo in his inaugural address, a great part of his speech was dedicated to illegal small-scale mining. It meant clearly that illegal small-scale mining was a menace, was an issue, even at the time he became president. And for the 7 years, from Operation Vanguard through to Operation Halt, to decommissioning of excavators, to the regulatory reforms, strengthening the inspectorate division of the Minerals Commission, ramping up community mining schemes, passing a law to amend the Minerals and Mining Act 206, Act 703 through Act 995 to strengthen the punishment regime for illegal small-scale mining, which then gives a foreigner who is found to be involved in illegal small-scale mining 25 years imprisonment, and a Ghanaian, I think, 15 years, through tracking of earth-moving equipment, through so many measures. The fight has been ongoing, and as I say, every now and again you are having to review and take stock of where you find yourself, and you make amends accordingly. A month ago, operations were conducted in Western Region, and excavators were seized, and people were arrested, and people are being prosecuted. For the past month and a half or so, the Central Regional Security Council has been waging almost weekly operations, which is why the Ghana Water Company has come out to say that there is some sanity on the river body that they source water from, the Central Regional Security Council. Not too long ago, the Minister for Defense reports to me that a soldier was even killed in an operation somewhere in the Upper West region. When they went. No. It's important that I make this point, please, Wilson. It's important.
Please go ahead.
Because the suggestion or the impression that, unfortunately, sometimes it's being created that nothing has been done in the past, nothing is being done. That is absolutely not correct. I don't know of any government in this Fourth Republic that has taken on the fight on illegal small-scale mining as much as the Akufo-Addo government has done, to the extent of burning excavators, to the extent of seizing thousands of excavators, to the extent of prosecuting and imprisoning hundreds and hundreds of people, and multiple prosecutions are going on as we speak today. Just 2 weeks ago, the Savannah Regional Security Council conducted an operation on the Black Mountain.
So yes, Mr. Jinapo.
But you see,
because you asked a question, organized labor have called on you to declare a state of emergency on water bodies and forest reserves, including their buffers. So you have clarity on what they want. The Constitution, Article 31(8) says, "For the avoidance of doubt, it is hereby declared that the provisions of any enactment, other than an enactment of Parliament dealing with the state of emergency, of that shall apply to the part of Ghana where the emergency exists." They have indicated to you water bodies, forest reserves, and their buffers. Is this too difficult to ask?
Well, but the point I'm making, Wilson, I don't know, but there's the multiple. First of all, let me just say this: all forms of mining on river bodies and their banks remain illegal. It's outlawed by statute, by acts of parliament. You are not permitted to mine on the river body. You are not permitted to mine 100 meters away from the banks of a river body. That already is illegal. And therefore, the Ghana Armed Forces leading Operation Halt is fully mandated to arrest people and deal with them squarely if they were to be found to be engaged in any mining activities on river bodies. We went to the extent, Wilson, of, I'm not going to use the word decommissioning again, of burning excavators found within a certain radius from the river bodies of our country, burning them. And that was a major issue here in Ghana. We went through all that storm. I was on my feet in Parliament for almost 3 hours, being asked to give the legal justification for the burning of excavators. That was done. I'm just saying to you respectfully again that the forest reserves of our country, small-scale mining is not permitted by law. So if there's a call that declare a state of emergency in order to be able to deal with an illegality, I'm saying that let's examine it. Let's all have a discussion about it.
In examining it, Honorable Jinapo, you have just a day to the strike. You are part of a committee mandated by government, 5-member ministerial committee. What else are you going to examine before tomorrow when organized labor starts their strike action? What is the difficulty?
Well, there's no. I don't find any difficulty. The government has been engaging multiple stakeholders on this matter, and the government is certainly engaging organized labor on this matter. I'm not too sure that organized labor, government, perhaps even yourself, your media outfit, and the many Ghanaian organizations who have contributed to this ongoing discussion are on different pages. Organized labor wants us to deal with illegal small-scale mining and avoid its very debilitating consequences on the population. The Christian Council, the National Association, several bodies have come out that way. I think multimedia has also done a lot of work in terms of your investigative journalism and exposing illegal small scale. That's exactly what government is also interested in.
Okay.
And that's what government has been doing for the past 7 years.
Okay.
Including, as I say, one of the most draconian measures we have had to take, which is banning excavators in this country. That's exactly what government want to achieve. So we are not at cross purposes.
Okay.
The question about methods, strategies, approach, and the rest, all those we can have a conversation about them.
So
we are allowed to.
My last question on this. Will government declare a state of emergency on these mining areas, i.e., water bodies and forest reserves where illegal mining is happening? Will the government do that?
Well, you may have to rephrase your question, because you are saying, will government declare state of emergencies in these mining areas?
Where illegal miners are mining on water bodies and forest reserves as indicated by organized labor.
Even whilst those activities are already unlawful? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, they've been unlawful.
So let me give you an example. For example, armed robbery is a crime by law. Then you are asked to declare a state of emergency on the road from Accra to Kumasi because armed robbery is too persistent. We have to examine all that.
Napo, this is a yes or no question. Organized labor says organized labor says declare a state of emergency in order to deal with illegal mining on water bodies, forest reserves, and their buffers. Will government do that?
First of all, I'm not.
Before tomorrow, would you do that?
No,
yes
hold on.
No?
Let me give you an answer. You've asked a question. Please, I'll be grateful if you allow me to answer the question.
I'm allowing you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I am not in the mood of getting into open contestation or open debate with organized labor or any civil society group or even an individual. I'm not. And I'm not in the frame of mind or in the mood of saying they are wrong, I'm right, they are wrong, government is right, their approach is not a correct approach, government's approach is the correct approach. No, I'm not too sure that is how we should approach this matter or how we should proceed. Not at all. Organized labor has come on board this fight, and they've made some demands. They've expressed some views. We've had engagements with them. We continue to have engagements with them. I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to say they are right, they are wrong. Government is right, government is wrong. None of that. We have a problem we've been dealing with for many years in our country since the 1980s. It's gotten worse over the years. This government has been taking some of the strongest measures in the past 7 years. We've gotten to a stage where a good number of groupings have, if you want, for want of a better expression, have come on board the fight, have brought their voices up. Those are highly welcome, and they are very, very helpful, and they are very useful. And therefore, we have to engage, but as a government, we have to continue to take the measures that are necessary, that are required to deal with this matter. And there are 3 of them which I've just outlined to you, 3 of them. And there's even a 4th one we are contemplating, which is banning, not so much banning, restricting the importation of champagne machines. That's a matter that I intend to take it up at the level of central government for us to take a decision on. Because that machine is one of the most destructive machines when it comes to our environment. And therefore, it is used for multiple purposes. It's used for irrigation and the rest. But that is what is also used to build these champagne machines, which are put on the riverbeds of our country to mine and destroy the river bodies of our country. So either we ban it for a period of time, or we restrict its importation. So these are all matters, including also the very useful call by organized labor for presidential candidates to sign a pact on illegal small-scale mining. Government supports and encourages that considerably, because the exercising of the politicization of this whole matter is one that will also help greatly. So that is how I'll respond to this.
Right. Mr. General Paul, I think we all agree that our water bodies have never been as polluted as they are today. The turbidity levels, the heavy metals, we have never had our water as bad as it is today. This is in spite of all the measures and methods that have been employed at least over the past almost 8 years. But when we hear what has come out of this meeting you had yesterday and what the information minister has communicated as the measures to be taken now, respectfully, none of them sounds new. Not even the river guards, it's not a new idea. Not even banning Shangfang, it's not a new idea. Deploying soldiers, not a new idea. So if there is nothing new being done, how do we expect to get different results by doing the same things?
All right. So, Kojo, let me also say very respectfully to you that the conclusion that our river bodies have never been this bad is not one that is entirely correct. Our river bodies are polluted. There's absolutely no two ways about that. They've been polluted over a long period of time, and we have a problem on our hands, which we have to deal with. To determine the quality of river bodies is not just the color of the river body. The experts will tell you that the real measurement of the quality of a river body is the turbidity level. And I receive reports from my colleague, Minister for Water Resources, through the Water Resources Commission, which agency works in tandem with the Minerals Commission, the turbidity levels of river bodies on a fortnightly basis. And so it's not entirely correct to say that our water bodies have never been this polluted. If you want to find out what is the state of our water bodies in comparatively, you will have to compare it to the turbidity levels of the river bodies a year ago, for example, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, and so on and so forth. But that's not a debate I'll get into now. Secondly,
at least clarify one thing, Mr. Jinapo. You're the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources. Water is a natural resource. Would you drink the water that comes out of your tap?
Why not? I drink it every day. Even this morning, I drank water from the tap.
Well, I mean,
do, but that does not suggest. Listen, Kojo, sorry.
Wait, let's clarify. You would drink the water.
Of course, I will. Why would I not? I do it every day.
You know that the Ghana Water Company has said that
I went to the bathroom and had my oral hygiene with the water from Ghana Water Company. Is that not drinking it?
And you know that the Ghana Water Company has stated quite clearly that their purification process does not remove heavy metals.
I don't contest all of that.
But you drink
it. No, hold on. I don't contest the issue of our water bodies being polluted. I don't. So, for example, yesterday I granted an interview, and there was an issue about the state of our forest reserves. And I said, I don't contest that we have deforestation in Ghana, but also with the greatest of respect, and because of how sensitive this matter is. One is having to be careful the kinds of contributions you make, because sometimes you get misrepresented. Before long, the statement is made that the minister says there's nothing wrong with the river bodies of our country. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that in the public discourse, it's important that we situate the discussion in their proper context based on the facts. So I said, for example, that yes, there's deforestation in Ghana. I don't contest that. But you also will note that the number one driver of deforestation in Ghana is not mining, it's agriculture. And secondly, you will also note, even while that there is deforestation in Ghana, and as minister I'm concerned about it, and government is taking measures to deal with that, it's also established that the rate of deforestation in 2023 in Ghana has slowed down. And that Ghana is about the only country in the world that has had a slowdown of the rate of deforestation in 2023. I think the only two countries aside Ghana are Colombia and Brazil. So those are also facts. You see, so my point is that there is a situation which has to be dealt with, and there's absolutely no two ways about that. And government will be the last organ to bury its head in the sand. Not at all. However, it is absolutely important that we keep focused and ramp up our efforts and measures. You say there's nothing new in what we have rolled out. There also, I respectfully disagree. There's a lot of if one escalation which is going to happen. I'm not about to give the details here on radio. That tomorrow, for example, an operation will happen here. Tomorrow, excavators will be seized or burnt or this or that. None of that. But also always for us to remember that everywhere in the world where you have an extractive industry, where you have illegalities, like it is in South Africa, where Galamsey is called Zamazama Day, and police people are killed, and reports are there from South Africa. Law enforcement agents are gunned down by illegal miners, or whether it's in Cote d'Ivoire or Nigeria, where you have a problem of illegal small-scale mining, or even in Australia, which is called prospective, where you have a problem there. Law enforcement alone does not resolve such illegalities. It never happened. Whether in the petrochemical industry, Niger Delta, and the rest, the literature is there for all of us to look at it. Law enforcement alone, good law enforcement alone, does not. It has to go in tandem with reforms, with regulating the industry, formalizing the industry, reforming the industry, and making illegal small-scale mining, by and large, unattractive. So that work has been going on, and that work is going to be enhanced as we move forward.
The question was why we are employing old methods and expecting new results.
But we've never deployed river guards. We've never deployed those people, that kind of efforts. We've not done that.
Sorry, and Minister Amewu, he indicated we have bought watercrafts and that we are trained people to equally deploy. This was during the time of Minister Amewu. Are you saying it never happened?
What never happened?
I'm saying that the issue of river guards, Minister Amewu said we have bought watercrafts and that we have trained people to be deployed on our water bodies to do the same thing you're talking about. I'm asking whether you're saying that it never happened.
Well, I wouldn't say that. But this particular measure that we are putting in place is being thought through carefully. And as I say, we've gone about it in the past 8 months. And we believe that it will reasonably contribute to the efforts we are making. Because constant monitoring of the river bodies, where they have boats, where they have drones, where they have cameras, where they have communication gadgets to be able to flag and signal activities on the river body in real time. We believe that it will make an impact. And that is not my judgment. This is the judgment of the experts, the people who understand these matters better than I do.
Speaking of drones, has the government located those drones that we've been asking about, the 200 drones bought by the Interministerial Committee?
Well, I've heard about this. The matter which you refer to is supposed to have taken place under the SWAL Interministerial Committee headed by Professor Frimpong Boateng. I never had any such handing over notes.
So they have not been located?
I never had any such handing over notes. Because if you have handing over notes, then you will have the facts that these equipments were bought, this is the state in which they are, this is the number, this is where they are, and so on and so forth. As a minister, the handing over notes I got did not have that. I don't have any information on that.
You have no information on the existence of those 200 drones?
No.
Okay.
The Frimpong Boateng Committee never gave us any such handing over notes.
Okay. All right. Just one more before we go.
Honorable, what will be the role of Small Scale Miners Association of Ghana in this new, you call it enhanced Operation Hot project?
You know, the situation out there in the field, you know, Wilson, if you permit me, most respectfully, have you gone out into a mining community before?
Yes, we have.
No, not. I'm asking Wilson.
I have. In fact, I come from one, so I know.
Excellent. Good. So you would know, for example, that almost the whole of Takwa, there's nothing like surface mining. It's all underground mining. Sure, you are familiar with that. Mm-hmm. And therefore, there is really no issue of negative impact on the environment because everything is happening underground. What is most important in respect of that kind of mining is safety. And you also know that across the mining districts and parts of our country, there are people who are engaged and involved in legal small-scale mining, who are mining responsibly, who cover their pits. There's a technical word for it, which I'm trying to figure out. Who cover their pits when they excavate, or who reclaim. That's the word. Who reclaim when they excavate, who revegetate when they excavate, and who even engage in afforestation and reforestation programs to add on to the forest resource of our country. There are people like that out there. There are community mining schemes which are operating responsibly and employing thousands and thousands of Ghanaians out there, which doesn't impact on our river bodies. It's nowhere close to a river body, nowhere close to a forest reserve. Whatever they do with their mining, they restore the land and they revegetate the land. This small-scale miners association represents these people, okay? And these small-scale miners association, over the years, have been advocating and canvassing for legal small-scale mining over the years. As you know, I can't get into that discussion with you today. The contribution of small-scale mining to our national economy, to our gold output, is significant. And I'm talking about legal or lawful, environmentally sound small-scale mining. So the thinking is that whereas in the past, government just went in and deployed soldiers and engaged in law enforcement measures and the rest, without necessarily carrying the legal small-scale miners along. You then had all kinds of erroneous situations on the ground where people are agitated about the measures we are putting. So we want to carry the communities with us. We want to carry the population with us so that when we are taking these measures, which I will call drastic measures, the population will be in support. And we wouldn't have, for example, the situation we had in the past when we were decommissioning excavators and there was a huge uproar in mining communities and even in the country about the measures that we are taking. So if you ask why are we involving the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, that is exactly the reason. They are not going to be leading the enforcement. They are not going to be the people enforcing the laws. It's the Ghana Armed Forces that will do so, as they have done over the period, over the years. But they need to be around the table in terms of getting their buy-in and getting the buy-in of the population.
Okay. We want to say a big thank you to you. We know you're in the middle of things up in Damongo. We appreciate your time with us this morning. And that, of course, is...
It's always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. That is Mr. Samuel Abu Jinapo, Honorable Member of Parliament for Damongo and the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources of the Republic of Ghana.